For Donald Trump, it's all about attacking individuals when he cannot defend himself because he has no evidence to defend himself with. And so, yesterday he tweeted, "We must determine the whistleblower's identity to determine why this was done to the USA." Today, Republican Congressman Jim Jordan joined in with this.
You don't think the American people have a right to know the individual who started this process to try to remove the President of the United States 13 months before an election? You don't think the American people have a right to know that?
So you think he has no right to anonymity?
He has a right to protection. That's what the whistleblower statute says. It doesn't say anonymity.
Turning our discussion now, Joel Brenner, he served as Inspector General of the National Security Agency under President George W. Bush. He was the head of the U.S. Counterintelligence in the Office of Director of National Intelligence from 2006 to 2009. He's a senior research fellow at MIT's Center for International Studies. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I want to get your reaction to what the president said about the whistleblower, what we just heard from Congressman Jordan about the whistleblower.
Well, it gets curiouser and curiouser, Lawrence. Jim Jordan, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. The statute's very clear. It says that the Inspector General shall not disclose the identity of the whistleblower. There are only a couple of instances under the statute, under the law, that the Congress passed that would provide an exception. One is if the IG himself determines that in the course of the investigation, there's no way to prevent its coming out. But the IG didn't do that, quite the contrary. The other is in case of a criminal referral to the Justice Department, the Justice Department might need to know it. But the Justice Department has passed on that criminal referral. So the answer to Mr. Jordan's statement is no. The American public doesn't have a right to know because the Congress of the United States, of which Mr. Jordan's a part, has decided that the complainer, the whistleblower, should be protected by having his identity kept secret. And one wonders what in the world Mr. Jordan has in mind. To give the man a 3-year detailed by the Executive Protection Service at taxpayer expense? You've got to remember, Lawrence, that the president has practically put out a contract on this man. He said, in effect, will no one rid me of this troublesome whistleblower? We should treat him like a traitor. We know what that means. And so protecting him, this is very strange behavior.
What is the value at this point, if any, of testimony from the whistleblower, since all the whistleblower was doing was saying there was a problematic phone call that should be looked at? We've now looked at the phone call. The rough transcript has been released. That isn't the transcript of much more value than anything the whistleblower has reported?
Absolutely true. Virtually every material statement that the whistleblower made has been borne out by direct proof at this point. So the whistleblower and his identity, his or her identity, are really sort of don't much matter anymore. He's started something, and we've got the proof. When he or she first made these allegations, people were demanding the proof. Well, now we have the direct proof of it, and so in the face of the evidence, the administration is basically wanting to attack the whistleblower's motives and move the discussion away from what the president and his people actually did and try to turn this into a political question. Well, this man must have been against us. And saying, by the way, against the government, he's done something against the country. That's not true. The whistleblower has done exactly what the Congress provided that people in his or her position should do, and the IG has protected that identity. That's the way the law is supposed to work.
And what do these attacks from President Trump, from Congressman Jordan and others, what does that mean for possible whistleblowers elsewhere in the government? There could be a whistleblower tonight in the Agriculture Department who knows something of import, or the Commerce Department who's looking at this saying, well, I can't be sure that I would be able to maintain, my secrecy as a whistleblower in this government.
It's people in that position are going to have to think twice, but depending on how this one comes out. I mean, people should remember that the reason that this statute was passed, that you have inspectors general who can protect whistleblowers, is so that complaints about behavior that looks unlawful can be elevated without leaking it in public, because often this kind of behavior might involve classified information. When you close down the protection of the IG Act in a case like this, you make leaking more likely. That's exactly the opposite of what we want to happen. We need a way so that people with access to classified or sensitive information can raise these concerns without immediately going public about it. And that's what's being undermined now.
Joel Brenner, thank you very much for joining us again tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.